strongest hurricanes to ever hit the Gulf Coast. Caroline Shively in New Orleans. I'll have the details coming up.
Not long ago, we brought you the story of how the Super Tam ice cream parlor on Route 66 in Carterville was up for sale. Now it has new owners. I'm Chris Warner. We'll introduce you to those new owners and tell you what the future holds for the Superman Museum.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Well, thanks as always for tuning in. I'm Mike Mahoney. Hurricane Ida came ashore today as a Category 4. Louisiana residents are being told to stay put for the duration of the storm. Fox News' Caroline Shively has the latest from New Orleans.
New Orleans officials are warning residents the only thing you can do now is hunker down because during the worst parts of this storm, nobody is coming to get you.
Ida strengthening overnight, even more quickly than forecasters expected, making landfall Sunday as a Category 4 with wind speeds topping 150 miles per hour. The intensity of the storm rivaling that of Hurricane Katrina, exactly 16 years to the day after that storm devastated the Gulf Coast. The city of New Orleans urged everyone who could to evacuate. Those who are still here will have to ride it out.
We need you to stay in from this point forward all morning, all afternoon, all evening. You are not to come out until you receive more information from the city of New Orleans.
I'd like to be better prepared. There's a few things that I'm thinking we probably could have done, but this storm came pretty quick.
New Orleans made major investments in hundreds of miles of new levees after Katrina. Ida now putting those levees to the test. Some areas could get up to 2 feet of rain. In addition to the wind and the rain, people here must also prepare for the possibility of losing power. About 10,000 linemen are on standby to respond to outages.
Quite frankly, we can't tell you yet how soon it will be before first responders are going to be able to respond to calls for assistance.
5,000 National Guard members are deployed throughout Louisiana. Their main focus will be search and rescue. In New Orleans, Caroline Shively, Fox News.
Hurricane Ida pulled a ferry from its mooring in Louisiana today. The wind wound up pushing the boat upstream on the Mississippi River. According to the New Orleans Regional Transit Authority, the ferry is now grounded. Tugboats have been secured to retrieve the ferry once it's safe to do so. All right, let's talk a little bit about some peaceful weather, more peaceful weather right here in the 4-state area. Let's talk to meteorologist Nick Kelly.
At least certainly more peaceful compared to the horrible hurricane working its way through Louisiana, Mike. We did have some scattered showers and storms today, but they held off a little later than I expected. That's why we saw a high of 92 today in Joplin after we started at 71. No rain officially at the rain bucket, but that's because the rain skirted around the airport when we were tracking rain and thunderstorms this afternoon. There are a few guys trying to pop up again in southeastern Kansas, but you can see we had a couple areas of rain in our northern counties this morning, then the afternoon batch working over other parts of Joplin. But as long as our frontal boundary still start out just to the north, we're going to do this all over again tomorrow. Generally a quiet start to the morning. Lows drop to 71. This time though, Mike, I do think we hit 89 tomorrow before we see more scatter storms in the afternoon. We'll check the rest of the week here in a bit.
Sounds like a plan. Thanks as always, Nick. Back in May of this year, we told you that the Super Tam Ice Cream Parlor and Superman Museum in Carterville was up for sale. Now, just a short time later, it's got new owners and they're gearing up for a reopening. We spoke to the new owners about their plans and what the future holds for this Route 66 treasure. KOAM's Chris Warner has more.
The Super Tam Ice Cream Parlor and Superman Museum has a worldwide legacy in Carterville. When it came up for sale, Andrea Briley decided she needed to step in and preserve this legacy for the community and the world. She's a teacher in Carterville and knew the love kids and adults have for this longtime establishment, and she had a personal motivation for buying it as well.
I just kind of like Superman a lot, and I had been here and brought my kids here when they were younger and had really good conversations with Larry. But yeah, I wanted to open it back up for the community, for the kids, and then also for my own memories with my kids here.
Larry Tamminen ran the shop for years, establishing that worldwide presence, something Andrea and her husband Chris are anxious to tackle.
We know we have big shoes to fill, but we're hoping to do it justice.
On the day they closed on the purchase, Chris says they got some news that opened up just how big this little shop is.
Larry says, oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, you're listed in the top 10 China attractions for the United States. And it's like,
Really? Wow. You know, and he's serious. This place is listed on the top 10 of attractions for tourists, for Chinese tourists.
Andrea says she's looking forward to continuing the legacy Larry left behind.
I'm looking forward to meeting people, to having that connection with other people who love Superman, who love Route 66, and to try to share the story of this place with other people.
When it comes to things people are familiar with, like the Superman memorabilia, that's all staying in place, as is the signature ice cream Larry brought in.
He has fans of certain flavors, and of course we've made sure those are on our list. We would like to carry on and then just keep going with it.
He built a legacy, and we're curators of his legacy, so to speak.
The Brileys say the amount of love and support they have gotten from the community has been overwhelming, as individuals and businesses have all come to welcome them to Route 66. They're hoping to have the museum and ice cream parlor open by September 16th. Fall is just around the corner, but this weekend the city of Pittsburgh was celebrating the season a bit early. The barn at Timbers Cove hosted the 2021 Fall Festival in Pittsburgh on Saturday. Admission was free for everybody, and the theme was shopping local. The festival provides the opportunity for Fourth State businesses to show various crafts and foods to the Pittsburgh community. With the ongoing pandemic making things a bit tougher, some vendors look to the festival to attract new customers.
A lot of these vendors were extremely affected by everything that's been going on pretty much the past 2 years. So they had a lot of shows be canceled. There's a lot of people who have customers come back every time we have events out here. A lot of my vendors have been with me from the beginning, and I do get new vendors every show. So it's great for building their clientele and be able to see some of our community members come out and support other people.
Goodies and snacks were provided to attendees, and several food trucks were also in attendance, including Ghetto Tacos and Blue Spoon. Organizers say there will be a holiday-themed festival coming up in December. The Kansas Department of Health and Environment has issued a boil advisory in Wilson County. The KDHE says the advisory is for Wilson County Rural District number 11. The advisory is not related to COVID-19. The KDHE says the advisory is in effect due to conditions that place the system at risk of bacterial contamination, specifically a pump failure resulting in the loss of pressure. The advisory will remain in effect until the issue can be resolved. It's now time for us to honor one of our many Fourth State heroes. And tonight, we recognize Brian Gorey of Carthage, Missouri. Gorey served as a sergeant in the Marines, and he fought in both Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom. He earned a sharpshooter badge and many other honors. Thank you, sir, for your service and for fighting for freedom. For more information on all our Fourth State heroes, or to nominate your own, just log on to KOAMNewsNow.com.
Prearrange.
Some of us had to deal with a few 90s for today, but any of you that caught the rain, which seemed to have dodged the camera and the time lapse of indigo sky outside of Seneca, Missouri, you actually had a little drop in temperatures, and I'm sure you enjoyed. Certainly after we topped out in the lower, if not mid 90s yesterday, we dropped to 71 this morning, pushing 91, 92, a drop in regional. But even though we didn't pick up a drop of rain right at the airport, surrounding rain from other parts of Joplin forced some air out to cool us down into the upper 70s back at the 5 o'clock hour. So definitely felt better as we got deeper into the afternoon after we had our scattering of showers and a couple of thunderstorms too. And again, scattered the key words. Sure, plenty of you on the Kansas side want to cash in on some rain chances before we look at a mainly dry week ahead of us. But the big bullseye is the heavier pockets of rain, which ranges from about 1.4 inches south of Seneca to almost 3 inches in the southeast side of Joplin, not to mention a couple of other heavier pockets around Mount Vernon, Coxie, let's say south of East of Milnet and to the southwest of Cassville. In the short term, though, we've seen the activity taper off at least a little bit on the Missouri side, but over the past few hours, we've been trying to see a couple showers and a couple of thunderstorms try to get their act together out in southeastern Kansas and parts of Greenwood and Coffee counties. That's where any slight rain chances are going to try to hold on up until about midnight or 1 a.m. Then I think all of us will enjoy a dry start and a mild start to our Monday morning. Excuse me, 76 in Joplin right now with an east breeze at about 3 miles per hour. Most spots in Missouri in the mid to upper 70s. A few spots on the Kansas side, northeast Oklahoma, however, are trying to hold on to some lower 80s. But again, our weather here is tame compared to Ida. It made landfall as a strong Category 4 hurricane, 7 miles per hour shy in terms of its wind speeds before it could become a Category 5. Regardless, it was stronger when it made landfall compared to Katrina 16 years ago on this very day. But thankfully now, it's a Category 2 hurricane with 105 mile per hour winds. It's going to continue to weaken as it works over land. It will become a tropical storm as it passes near Jackson Monday afternoon, and then weaken into a depression as it works through Mississippi and the Tennessee Valley and maybe parts of the Northeast as we go into the middle of next week. But no big impacts from Irma in terms of influencing our weather. We just saw it to watch this stationary front parked just to the north, and along as the jet itself stays parked just to the north, we'll just do kind of a repeat of today all over again for tomorrow. So in the short term, I'll keep an eye on the few showers out in southeast Kansas, but everyone's dry to start Monday morning out, and mild too, with temperatures in the lower 70s. But once we hit the afternoon again, kind of like today, we'll watch for scattered thunderstorms again. And just like today, nothing too strong, certainly nothing severe, but some heavy pockets of rain, certainly can't rule it out. 71 in the morning, let's go 85 by noon. I think this time around, though, we will have highs top out around 89 degrees. As far as additional rainfall, kind of like today, maybe some of you struggling to get any drops of rain to maybe on the heavier side, half an inch to maybe an inch, before we see things generally calm down as we head into Tuesday. Let's keep highs in the upper 80s, 89 to be exact, for Monday and Tuesday. But once that front skedaddles, once we hit Wednesday, Mike, the heat, I don't think much in the way of humidity, but the heat will definitely work back in. Lower 90s through Friday and maybe pushing 93 to 94 by Saturday and Sunday.
I'm ready for the heat to skedaddle, but thank you, Nick. All right, when we return, President Biden and the First Lady pay their respects to 13 fallen U.S. service members. And we'll pay a visit to the Dover Air Force Base in Delaware, where the president honored the fallen U.S. service members killed during a recent suicide bombing in Afghanistan. That's next. We're learning more about the drone strike that reportedly killed an ISIS planner and facilitator in retaliation for the deadly bombing in Kabul on Thursday that killed 13 U.S. service members. More than 160 Afghans also lost their lives. Fox News' Lucas Tomlinson has more.
Officials say the 2 ISIS fighters killed were part of a cell plotting more attacks against U.S. forces at the airport in Kabul, part of what President Biden warns could be another ISIS attack sometime in the next 24 to 36 hours. Here at the Pentagon, John Kirby spoke about who U.S. forces killed.
They lost a planner and they lost a facilitator, and they've got 1 wounded. And the fact that 2 of these individuals are no longer walking on the face of the earth, that's a good thing. It's a good thing for the people of Afghanistan. It's a good thing for our troops and our forces at that airfield.
Fox is told a U.S. military Reaper drone launched from Al Dhafra Air Base in the United Arab Emirates to carry out the strike in Nangarhar province, for years a hotbed of an ISIS affiliate in Afghanistan. Nangarhar, located on the border with Pakistan, the same place where President Trump dropped the Moab, the mother of all bombs, against this same ISIS affiliate 3 months after taking office. It's also where Navy SEALs launched the raid to kill bin Laden. President Biden approved the target assassination less than 2 days after the suicide attack that killed 13 American service members and wounded 20. Over 160 Afghan civilians were also killed. The Reaper strike coming hours after another warning from the U.S. Embassy in Kabul urging any Americans at the gate at the airport to, quote, leave immediately. There have been reports many gates are now being welded shut.
There are gates that are closed, absolutely, right now, but as we said earlier, we do have gates that are continue to be open as we coordinate and still work with the Department of State.
3,500 U.S. troops remain at the Kabul airport. They will be gone by Tuesday. And for the first time in nearly 20 years, there will be no U.S. forces on the ground in Afghanistan. At the Pentagon, Lucas Tomlinson, Fox News.
A U.S. drone struck a vehicle in Kabul today. There was at least 1 suicide bomber inside the vehicle, which was reportedly heading to Kabul's international airport. The vehicle had explosives inside, which caused multiple secondary explosions after the airstrike. But as of now, it remains unclear if the vehicle itself was packed with explosives or if the secondary explosions were from a suicide vest. Militants from an ISIS affiliate terror group were reportedly inside the vehicle at the time of the airstrike. Today, President Biden honored the fallen U.S. service members killed during a recent suicide bombing in Afghanistan. After flying to Dover Air Force Base in Delaware, the president attended the dignified transfer of 11 of the 13 U.S. service members who were killed in Thursday's terrorist attack outside Kabul's International Airport. According to the White House, the president and First Lady will also meet with the families of fallen service members. The Air Force Mortuary Affairs Operations released a statement about the event, saying, quote, "The dignified transfer is not a ceremony. Rather, it is a solemn movement of transfer case by a carry team composed of military personnel from the fallen members' respective service." We'll be right back with more news. Welcome back to your News at 9. Should you be getting a COVID-19 antibody test before getting your booster shot? That's a question on many people's minds. So, Fox News' Brianna Arredondo spoke with several physicians about what antibody tests mean for our health.
COVID-19 antibody testing can help doctors treat patients in hospitals, see immune response in vulnerable people, or show your exposure to the virus. But Tampa General Hospital ER doctor Jason Wilson says it's an evolving science.
By itself, if you just go out and get an antibody test and I give you a number back, I don't think that number means much. The question just becomes, what do you do with that information?
Scientists say antibody testing is not standardized. The numbers can mean different things depending on where you got your test. So it's not recommended for the general public.
So I know that it's we all want to make things as simple as possible and say I have antibodies or I don't, I need a vaccine or I don't. But in this case, it's more nuanced. That's why experts and physicians have to interpret the data and give people the recommendations about what to do.
Right now, it's getting the COVID shot. Studies show antibody levels from vaccines remain strong, but they drop a little over time. That's where booster shots come in. Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer announced this week their doses help.
We know that when you give that third dose, that there's going to be a significant immune response. And it's kind of expected, but nice to see the science.
Doctors say vaccinated people should not worry about their antibody levels while waiting for potential boosters. They say the shots still do what they were made for. On the other side, public health experts say relying on antibodies from the virus won't have as much protection as a shot.
There's difference in magnitude, so you get a lot more antibody from the vaccinations, particularly the mRNA vaccinations. But we don't know if the duration is the same for the mRNA vaccines versus the natural infection.
When we return, a pricey food is getting even pricier. And if you're a lobster lover, prepare to pay more. We're taking a look at why this delicacy from the sea is becoming more and more expensive. That's headed your way right after the break.
Promotional.
If you've gone to the grocery store and noticed emptier shelves or have trouble finding your favorite foods, you are not alone. We are still dealing with global supply chain issues that started with the pandemic and are still being felt across the U.S. Fox News' Bailey Miller is learning more about why the shortages are still happening.
We're in a really weird time.
Dale Rogers is a professor of logistics and supply chain management at ASU, and he's been following the supply chain shortage happening globally.
We're seeing an incredible amount of sort of bad things happen at the same time. This is really unusual.
It's the reason why your favorite items are missing from your grocery shelves, and containers like cups and takeout boxes are no longer available at certain coffee shops and restaurants. Even clothing and shoes are impacted too.
Coming from China, and that stuff is sitting out on the water.
The reason it's sitting there is because it's now more expensive to transport items from China because the cost of shipping containers has skyrocketed.
The spot market rate is around $20,000 a container. You go back a year and it was probably $2,500 a container.
And COVID playing a role too, as certain ports overseas are closed due to exposures and outbreaks. Local grocery stores like Basha's seeing the impacts, releasing a statement to us saying supply chain challenges persist across the country and we are still battling those effects in Arizona, adding that many food producers are still operating with limited capacities, resulting in consumers seeing that directly available in assortments.
Lobster lovers are feeling the pinch in their wallets as prices hit their highest levels in 5 years. Fox Business Network's Jeff Flock reports from just off the coast of Maine.
Maybe you can see the lobster pots are coming in
on Kristen Porter's lobster boat here just off the coast of Maine. There's so much going on in the world, sometimes we forget about what's going on the home front. What's going on is, in some ways, Kristen, lobstermen under a lot of pressure. A whole lot of inflation going on right now. They want to shut some of your fishing grounds down to try and save whales. And you got warming waters that kind of are moving your catch to Maine. What's it like right now for you?
Well, it makes you think, you know, what the future brings, especially like my son who's here, what the future means for him. But, you know, it's a pretty good life, and, you know, all these factors seem to be working against us. And, you know, we do a good job to try to conserve our industry, be sustainable with it. It's all the outside factors that keep working against us.
Yeah, this is your son Brandon right here, who's actually he's measuring. In fact, that lobster there, he just measured that to make sure it was legal. During the pandemic, you know, restaurants shut down, a lot of demand went away. Now take a look at the numbers on lobster harvest. Smallest lobster harvest last year in a decade. You did okay with price, and now they're trying to shut some of your fishing grounds down. We got a map that shows just where that's going to be. That's taken away a lot, and because they're concerned about whales getting caught in your lines.
Right, and I mean, we always want to do our part to make sure that whales aren't injured, but there's no scientific data to show that area needs to be shut down. Yeah. There's no added benefit for whales, but it's huge loss to those guys that fish that area.
Yeah. And
that's their big time of year. That's what gets them through the winter, and it's going to be too bad.
Yeah. Lobsters, price is pretty decent, right? That's a pretty good size one right there that you see there. Price is up, but you know, prices to fish, fuel prices, obviously, these boats don't run on solar power. Price is up all over. The plight of the Maine lobstermen. That's the latest. I'm Jeff Block with the Fox Business Network.
Well, stick around. We've got a lot more news headed your way, as well as another look at your weather with meteorologist Nick Kelly and your KOAM Sports Report with Danny Terzer. That's all coming up right here on your KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. And when we return, you'll learn about a real-life towering inferno. A high-rise caught on fire in Italy today, but so far there haven't been any reported injuries. That story and more are next.
Celebrate and expand.
Israel launched airstrikes on Hamas-backed activists on the Gaza Strip today. Israeli Defense Forces struck the area following nighttime protests along the border. Demonstrators threw debris and explosives at the Israeli military, who responded with live fire. A Palestinian media outlet reports that at least 5 people were struck by the Israeli forces. The protesters came together to object to Israel's blockade of the Gaza Strip, which has severely hurt the area's economy. Dozens of people had to be evacuated from a high-rise residential building in Milan, Italy, when it caught fire today. The flames spread quickly through the building, but fortunately there are no immediate reports of injuries or deaths. A huge plume of black smoke billowed up from the structure. The building's facade appeared to have been completely consumed by the flames. Fire officials say the fire appears to have started on the 15th floor. The building was designed to look like the keel of a ship. An aluminum sail that had been located on the roof fell to the street and burned to pieces. As of now, there is no word on how the fire started. The CHAPARRAL fire continues tearing through Southern California. The fire has consumed about 1,200 acres as of Saturday night and threatens homes and structures in parts of San Diego County. Fire crews are using helicopters, hoses, and bulldozers to contain the flames while residents prepare for evacuation orders. At least 150 firefighters have been battling the CHAPARRAL fire. Investigators are still trying to determine what started the flames. We'll be right back with meteorologist Nick Kelly and another look at your weather. Don't go anywhere.
During the Labor Day mattress.
It's amazing seeing what's going on down in Louisiana. We'll touch base on what Ida is doing, but first let's start with a look at how our weather fared on this Sunday to wrap up the weekend. It started out nice from Indigo Sky Casino and Resort outside of Seneca, Missouri, but after we had some warmth and humidity bubble on up, the casino grounds actually cashed in on a few good downpours of rain before we settled things down, at least down there earlier this evening, not too long ago. But a closer up view shows the scattering that we did have was just exactly that. Scattered, hit and miss. Some of you still waiting to cash in on any rain chances before we look at a dry week ahead of us, but some spots especially in southwestern Missouri, saw quite a few good downpours popping up, putting us at 3 inches on the southeast side of Joplin near I-44 and 49 before you head south down into Arkansas. Almost 2 inches just outside of Sarcoxy, 1.6 for Mount Vernon, a couple of 2-inch downpours for parts of Berry County as well. We've seen that activity wane as it tried to make its way over to Stockton Lake, but just within the past few hours, we have noticed a couple of showers, maybe a random thunderstorm trying to get going across parts of Elk, Greenwood, and Coffee County on the Kansas side. That is about it as far as our slight rain chances go for the rest of the night. I really think once we get past midnight, though, everyone stays quiet as we venture into Monday morning. Temperatures aren't too bad either. 76 degrees. Thankfully, it doesn't feel any hotter than that, with the dew point sitting at 72. Most of us are in the upper 70s right now. A few spots on the Kansas side like Yates Center, Chanute, Fredonia, Independence trying to hold on to some lower 80s, but we're all dropping back to 71 tonight with a little break in the action, which is certainly something our friends and neighbors down in Louisiana could certainly use. At the very least, if there's any positive news about Ida, it's weakening like all tropical systems and hurricanes do once they work over land. Right now it's a Category 2 with 110 mile per hour sustained winds, and the downward trend will continue as we venture into Monday. In fact, as it nears Jackson, Mississippi, this will be a 40 mile per hour tropical storm, weakening into a depression as it passes near Tupelo, Mississippi Tuesday morning, and then through the Tennessee Valley and on the way into the Appalachian Mountain Range, where that will continue on to some rain for parts of the east. Around here, our main focus is still the front just to the north to help to spark the storms today, and as long as that stays put, along with no big changes in the jet stream, we're poised to repeat today all over again for tomorrow. So let's break it down for you. A couple of showers again, mainly on the Kansas side up until about midnight or 1 a.m. Then we're dry as we get Monday morning started with lows in most spots dropping off to 71. Once we get past the start of the afternoon, we may be dry to start it out, but the scattered thunderstorms will ramp on up again as we go deeper into the afternoon. 71 in the morning, let's go 85 by noon, and afternoon highs around 89 degrees. I think we get a break in the action Monday night going into Tuesday morning. I'll watch for a complex of storms that could try to clip Kansas City. Maybe a very slight chance a few storms could clip us on Tuesday, but once we hit Tuesday and certainly by the middle of the week, let me show you what happens. The front decides to wash out, and this upper ridge will definitely start to build back in. And as the end result of that ridge building in, the humidity doesn't quite return, but the 90 certainly will. 89 tomorrow and Tuesday, 92 Wednesday, and pushing 93 to 94 all the way through next weekend. Danley Church is on deck with sports. She's up next.
This is the Toyota Sunday Night Sports Feed. The Kansas City Royals have won 3 in a row against the Mariners. Today, they go for the series sweep. Picking it up in the 6th, Salvador Perez stays hot 5 consecutive games now with a home run. This one here to tie the game. Trailing again though, Michael A. Taylor evens it up once more with his own solo shot. And then Kyle Seager for the Mariners goes deep with a runner on. A nice series for the Royals. They fall just short of the sweep. Seattle takes the final game 4-3. The Cardinals and the Pirates wrap up a series today. No score in the 3rd until Tyler O'Neill hits one deep off the back wall for his first Major League triple. St. Louis up 1-0. Bottom half, Kevin Newman. Line drive, Harrison Bader. What a catch. Full extension to make the play. Later, Tommy Edman breaks a tie game with a 2-run blast to right center. A more outstanding defense here. Nolan Arenado makes a great snag. Let's see that one again. He manages to get the throw off from the ground. It's not a happy ending for the Cards though. The Pirates score 3 in the bottom of the 9th to come back and walk it off 4-3. Kansas City went a perfect 3-for-3 in preseason play. The Chiefs will now trim down their roster to 53 men prior to their Week 1 matchup. They host the Cleveland Browns in the opener on Sunday the 12th, exactly 2 weeks away. Quarterback Patrick Mahomes talks about how the preseason has helped prepare the team for success in Week 1 and beyond.
Obviously, coming off injury, you want to go out there and make sure everything's good. And I was able to do that. I was able to move around. I was able to do kind of the stuff that I've always been accustomed to doing. And then building that relationship, kind of like I talked about with the offensive line. I mean, in practice, you think you're building it and doing that stuff, but until you really try it out in a game situation where stuff's moving fast, there's crowds, It's loud. It's definitely good to get out there with the offensive line, kind of go through that adversity and have to find ways to kind of battle through.
The NFL's top 100 players list was fully released on Saturday. The rankings are voted on by the players themselves, and the Chiefs have 5 on this year's list. Patrick Mahomes secures the #1 spot for the first time in his career. Teammate Travis Kelce is not far behind, locking up the 5 spot. That makes him the highest-ranked tight end in the league. Tyreek Hill lands at 15, defensive tackle Chris Jones at 34, and safety Tyrann Mathieu at 58. The BMW Championship at Caves Valley wrapped up today. It's the second event in the FedEx Cup playoffs, and it came to a thrilling end. On the 18th, Patrick Cantlay and Bryson DeChambeau battling it out. Cantlay sinks a 20-foot birdie to tie it at 27 under. And then DeChambeau, with a chance to win it here, misses his birdie putt. That will force a playoff, missing lots of crucial shots down the stretch, just like that one. The 6th playoff hole here, Cantlay makes birdie to take a 1-stroke lead, and DeChambeau can't match it, so Patrick Cantlay wins the BMW Championship, his 3rd win of the season. We'll be right back with more news.
Welcome back to your News at 9. It is definitely not something you see often, a professional sports team training inside a prison and interacting with the inmates. Fox News' Mark Dembski was invited to join Sacramento Republic FC's return to Folsom State Prison and learn more about the uplifting experience.
It's a pretty magical experience because you don't know what to expect, right?
For most of us, being inside a state prison surrounded by armed guards, the prison walls, and the inmates is not something experienced firsthand.
But when you roll out the ball, you kind of forget about all that. You forget about where you are, and you have fun, and you compete, and you play, and you shake hands afterwards.
Welcome to Folsom State Prison, man. This week, the Republic FC held a training session inside the prison, something they hadn't done in nearly 2 years because of the pandemic.
The coolest thing was, these guys are all fans of ours. They were talking about they watch all our games, so they get a chance to watch, and they're supporting us.
There's a huge give and take. I think we come in here, and we want to show some compassion, some humanity, let these guys know that people care about them.
About 125 inmates were allowed to watch today's workout for the Republic FC, and for them, it was quite the experience.
I think they're doing a good job for our community, for us to get back to our communities out there.
It breaks the monotony,
Just the little things they do, how they're gonna warm up, and how they even hit the ball, little things like that.
It's amazing to me, like how much they know about the team, how much they know about our tactics, our players. So it's they're fans, and it's important we acknowledge fans.
There's a little bit of banter between us and them, so to get that going, it's like regular fans. When we get a little bit of the chirping and stuff, and we get some energy coming from those guys, it definitely turns it up a little bit. So that was a cool experience.
A big part of the Department of Corrections is rehabilitation, and that's one thing that we're providing here. Having them be a part of a productive game and being a part of that community gives them a sense of that the community isn't forgotten about them.
These are ultimately going to be our neighbors again, and we want to show them that there's a good pathway back, and just to come in and honestly roll the ball out, that makes all the difference.
We are not done yet here on your KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. And when we return, we are saying goodbye to an entertainer who put on a show for more than 60 years. The one and only Ed Asner passed away today, and we are going to take a look back at his legendary career. Famous actor and Kansas City native Ed Asner has passed away. The Hollywood legend, whose career spanned more than 6 decades, was best known for playing the cantankerous television news director Lou Grant on the sitcom The Mary Tyler Moore Show. That character was spun off into its own series, Lou Grant, which was a drama, with the character becoming a Los Angeles-based newspaper editor. Later roles included playing Santa Claus in the movie Elf, and the starring voice in the Pixar movie Up, and the voice of Boondocks villain Ed Wunsler. Asner also served 2 terms as president of the Screen Actors Guild from 1981 through 1985. He died at the age of 91. School is in session on Fox's free streaming service Tubi with a comedy from SNL alum John Lovitz. Fox News' Ashley Dvorkin has a sneak peek.
I have had my eyes on the three of you.
It's back to school time on Tubi, including with the premiere of the original Tales of a Fifth Grade Robin Hood, led by Emmy-nominated SNL alum John Lovitz.
Guys, come on, Wolf's on the way.
The comedy is about a kid who discovers their school vice principal is stealing money from fundraisers, so he gathers his friends to get the money back.
When I read the script, I thought it was funny. You know, I like kids, and it's a kids' movie, and I thought it was clever and well written. Obviously, it's a spoof on Robin Hood with a twist.
There were lots of laughs on set making this one.
They're nice people and they're fun. Also, it's kind of humbling because I'm 63 and the kid's 11 and we have the same job.
He's a great guy. He's really nice and I love working with him.
John is a very nice guy. Whenever we're doing in between scenes, he'll make funny faces. It's really funny.
It's an exciting time of year for these young stars.
My favorite thing about going back to school is probably being able to go outside for recess and just seeing my friends again and being able to see them all day, every day.
Making new friends because I'm actually going to a new school now.
And as the film premieres, Tubi is partnering with the Kids in Need Foundation to provide supplies and learning tools to under-resourced schools nationwide.
The plan's still on.
Tales of a Fifth Grade Robin Hood is part of 40-plus titles now streaming for free in Tubi's back-to-school programming. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
Firefighters in Arlington, Texas rescued a dog from a storm drain. And these guys are dedicated because that rescue took more than 10 hours to perform. Firefighters had to cut into the street in order to get to a 15-year-old dog named Zoe. The rescue operation started before noon and finished after 10 p.m. Do we see Zoe come up? She's coming. Yeah, there she is. Lucky girl. All right, and finally, here's a good story to wrap the show on. The Zacongo Zoo, located near Mexico City, welcomed 3 endangered lion cubs to their new home. Zoo officials say the 2 female and 1 male cub were born at the zoo on August 13th. The birth of a lion cub had not been recorded at the zoo in nearly 5 years. These newborn cubs and their parents, named Barbara and Popeye, are currently in good condition as zookeepers keep a close eye on their health. Hey, well, thanks so much for wrapping up your weekend with us. We'll see you next week for more KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. Have a great night. Stay safe out there.